Brad had mixed feelings about the conversation at the table, and watching Dwayne and Rose walking away together turned those feelings to worse pretty quickly. Catching their waiter's attention, Brad told the man, "Use this card to pay our bill with a 25% tip, and please send a bottle of a top-shelf Pinot Noir to room 2042 as quickly as possible. The room service waiter can return my card to me there when he brings the wine." Despite handling the tab and wine order quickly, Brad was too late to catch Dwayne and Rose at the elevators. He grabbed a different elevator, and Brad thought about Dwayne's in-your-face bravado whenever Rose was present, and Brad was surprised to feel some anger. Usually, he took great pride in how Rose looked, and he truly loved that she trusted him to help her look her best when they went out together. Brad was aware that Rose could turn heads easily, especially so when she was dressed to the nines. He liked making her feel beautiful and confident, and he savored the trickle-down effects on himself. Rose was on his arm after all. As they left the restaurant, however, Rose was on Dwayne's arm, and that was very unsettling for Brad. The discussion about Brad traveling and being away a lot seemed to carry some innuendo with it as well. Up until tonight, Brad had never had reason to doubt Rose's fidelity or even interest in any other man, beyond some flirting that led to Brad and Rose enjoying some hot nights. Upon reaching Dwayne's floor, Brad hurried along the hallway looking for room 2042. Reaching the door, Brad saw Rose's panties on the floor, ripped apart. Brad pocketed the panties and pulled out his phone, turning on the video recording feature, before placing the phone in his shirt pocket. Dwayne had left the security latch to block the door open, so Brad opened the door as quietly as possible and entered the room. Silently entering the main area of the suite, he could not believe his eyes. Rose was passionately kissing Dwayne, with her arms wrapped around his head such that they were oblivious to Brad's entry. Brad got his phone out and took a few seconds of video of their kissing, before again pocketing his phone. Brad was incensed that Dwayne was taking such liberties with his wife, and the out-of-town comments at dinner suddenly made more sense. Was his promotion some sort of quid pro quo in exchange for Rose? Was she in on it? "What's going on, Rose? What is the meaning of this?" Brad asked as he stepped fully into the room. Rose abruptly broke the kiss and turned, surprised by Brad's presence. Dwayne started to speak, and Brad cut him off. "Dwayne, I was speaking to Rose." "Well, Rose? Explain yourself," Brad repeated. Brad's assertiveness was throwing Rose off her game plan. "Dwayne too. Well, honey. Dwayne did ask us up here to celebrate your promotion. So we're celebrating." And did the celebration start in the hall outside?" Brad asked, taking the panties from his pocket, twirling them twice, and then stuffing them back into his pants. "In fact, after the comments downstairs about my future travel schedule, I'm starting to wonder if you two discussed my promotion long ago. Perhaps after the Christmas party?" "Now, hold on a minute, Brad," Dwayne interjected. "Dwayne, you are familiar with quid pro quo sexual harassment, are you not?" countered Brad. "It seems more than a little suspect that you demanded my wife be here tonight when you offered the promotion, and within minutes of you separating me from her, I found you two kissing. And her ripped panties were out in the hall. Is that one wife for one promotion in your mind?" Dwayne and Rose each felt the moment going sideways in a hurry. Dwayne was unsettled with the mention of potential sexual harassment claims. Rose decided to try to turn the tables on Brad and focus on their relationship and not his promotion or his job. "Brad, honey. We talked about this after that party. We were both turned on afterward, were we not? I remember us having quite a good time later." Thought Brad. Rose has dramatically misread my feelings about when other men find her attractive. Deciding that nothing too serious has likely happened to date between Dwayne and Rose, Brad figured that busting up whatever this was supposed to be would suffice for now. But it needed to happen quickly before Dwayne recovered. "What exactly were your plans here tonight, Rose? Did you think I would let you have both Dwayne and me tonight? Here in his room? Or were you thinking just Dwayne, leaving me out altogether? Is that why you rushed up here while leaving me to handle the bill? Are you wanting to replace me with Dwayne, Rose? We've never once discussed any type of sharing, or anything other than absolute fidelity to one another. So again, explain yourself. What is it you wanted to happen tonight?" "Shit," thought Rose. "Where did my boy go?" "Well, Brad. I thought that we both got turned on when I told you about Dwayne's advances at the party, and that since he asked me to be here tonight, and you bought me this fantastic dress, I thought that perhaps you were ready to take things to the next level." "The next level, my ass," thought Brad, as a simple plan to disrupt the night suddenly came to mind, and there wasn't much time for waffling or looking for alternatives. He was pretty pissed at each of them, and he needed time to think things over and figure out the next steps. Stepping closer to Rose, he gently turned her slightly more towards Dwayne, and Brad lightly put his hand on Rose's shoulder. "Is that really what you want, Rose? You want me to give you to Dwayne? Tonight? Every time I have to travel for work? Forever? One of you ripped apart the panties I bought for you. What did that mean?" "Relax, Brad. It appears there's been a misunderstanding here," Dwayne offered up, trying to defuse the situation. Dwayne recognized that Brad was behaving much more in his workplace persona tonight, and one reason Brad had been promoted twice in 15 months was he could bust balls when needed to keep projects on schedule and under budget. "Still talking with Rose, Dwayne. Thanks. Well, Rose? Did you want me to give you to Dwayne or not? You rushed up here looking pretty eager. I assume he ripped off your panties out in the hall." Rose decided suddenly to go for it. "Yes, Brad. I have been thinking about Dwayne since the Christmas party. And since reading your note and putting on this dress tonight, I've been wet thinking about being with Dwayne tonight. You could stay and watch, or go home, your choice, but I will be with Dwayne tonight." "I see. Well, Rose," Brad calmly whispered, gently moving his hand to the dress zipper, and slowly pulling it down her back, "if that is what you want, I will leave you here with Dwayne, but first I need my dress back." Brad quickly grabbed both sides of the back of the dress and ripped it apart and completely off Rose's body. The force of the pulling motion left her unsteady on her heels, and falling toward Dwayne, who clumsily fumbled the catch, allowing Rose to fall to the floor. Dwayne was shocked and had his hands on his thighs to steady himself. As he was rising up from that stance, Brad flashbacked to his 4 years of prep school soccer, where he lettered as a midfielder for 3 years. Dwayne's nuts had no chance, and as he started to fall, Brad nudged Dwayne toward the pile of Rose on the floor. Retrieving his phone, he videoed Dwayne next to a naked Rose for a few seconds and then turned off his recording. "Hope you two lovebirds have fun tonight. I will see myself out," Brad announced as he started walking away. Seeing Rose's tiny clutch purse, he looked inside, and took all the cash, and her credit card, leaving her with nothing for a cab. "Brad, wait, you stupid son of a bitch, come back here." Neither Rose's nor Dwayne's shouting had any effect on Brad. Dress in hand, he saw the stairwell at the end of the hall and went down to the 19th floor, stuffing the destroyed dress and panties in a trash can there, before grabbing the elevator to the parking deck. Still moaning loudly, Dwayne grumbled, "What the fuck has gotten into Brad, Rose? He just kicked his boss in the nuts, he can't think he is still employed after that. At least you have your fucking clothes. He stripped me naked and took off. I don't know anything about sexual harassment laws, but I saw Brad filming us on the floor after he kicked you. So he has you on video lying next to me, naked. And he didn't fumble a second to turn it on either, he just aimed it at us, so I think he was recording the whole time. I don't think you said anything incriminating, but I sure said plenty, and Brad pretty much summed up how we got to this point. This is a nightmare." Rose opened the closet and was elated to see plush robes hanging inside, so she grabbed one and put it on. "Yeah, I've never dealt with a sexual harassment case myself, but just the accusation with his video would be devastating to my job and career. We gotta find him and calm him down right now." Both Dwayne and Rose tried Brad a few times, but calls went immediately to voicemail. They left messages asking him to call them back, that there was a huge misunderstanding, yada, yada, but even Rose knew she was paddling upstream with no paddle, let alone clothes. She had told Brad she would fuck Dwayne tonight. Funny, why do I just feel fucked over? Brad plotted his next moves as he rode the elevator and returned to his car. He needed time, his laptop, and Wi-Fi, but this hotel lobby and business center were too hot. Ah, the Hilton across the street, remembered Brad. Time to flex my diamond status. Not wanting to come back for his car and risk being seen or ambushed in the parking deck, he left the Four Seasons, circled the block, and entered the Hilton for valet parking. Explaining his urgent need to use the business center for a work emergency, He showed his Hilton credit card, proved his diamond status, and got an access card for the biz center. Thinking over his options, he knew by kicking Dwayne in the nads that one of them would likely be leaving his company. But he wasn't sure that Dwayne staying was a gimme. Dwayne was a solid boss, but his background was in sales, mostly at other companies, and this company was more a financial and tech services firm, so Dwayne relied heavily on his staff, including Brad, a star performer who had risen within the company, including 2 recent promotions to the executive level. Brad had long-term mentors at the C-level and on the board. Mumbling to himself, "First I have to keep Dwayne on his back foot, without making myself look too crazy." Laptop booted and phone connected, he uploaded the video while crafting a short email to Tim Stern, the CFO. Not only was Tim his former boss a few years back, but human resources rolled up under him, and Tim was also a board member and head of the ethics committee. "Hey Tim. Sorry to disturb your weekend, but I just met with Dwayne at the Four Seasons where he delivered the VP contract, but things went south after we went to his room. He had requested that Rose attend, and when I caught up with them in Dwayne's suite, I found them kissing. Needless to say, I was not happy and confronted them, and even asked Dwayne if this were some type of quid pro quo arrangement involving my new position and Dwayne's interest in Rose. I'm ashamed, not sorry, to say I kicked Dwayne in the nuts and took a picture of them together on the floor, see attached. I would like to lodge a complaint and ask that HR investigate this matter thoroughly. Of course, I am still interested in the new position and my future with the company, but I cannot tolerate my boss thinking he can have my wife whenever he likes. I am sure you understand. Thanks, Brad." After proofreading his email and verifying his screenshot from the video, he pressed send. That should occupy Dwayne for the short term. Now what about Rose? She seems to think she can re-gift herself and my gifts to her, to other men. Clearly, she doesn't deserve all those gifts if she so easily forgets the source. With a new plan forming in his head, he left the Hilton and headed home. Back in the suite, Dwayne and Rose were debating how to reach Brad since he wasn't answering either of them when Dwayne got a call from his CFO. "Dwayne, sorry to call you this late, but I just got an email from Brad with some troubling accusations, and he supplied a picture that seems indisputable. Care to comment, or do I need to spell out what he said?" "Look, Tim. There's been a terrible misunderstanding, and neither Rose nor I have been able to reach Brad since he left. We were just discussing our options." "Are you telling me that you and Rose are still together? Where are you?" "Never mind. You've just confirmed enough of this shitstorm that I am obligated to investigate his claims. My advice to you is to get as much space between you and his wife as quickly as you possibly can. Once that is done, you would do well to write down notes on exactly what took place tonight while it is fresh in your head. And stop trying to contact Brad. It's inappropriate for you to try to contact your accuser in this type of situation. Call me at 10 a.m. tomorrow and we'll regroup. Good night, Dwayne." Turning to Rose, Dwayne exclaimed, "What an asshole. It's only been like 30 minutes and your dumbfuck hubby has already reported this crap to my CFO, with a picture no less. You were right about the camera. This is unfiffing believable. I can't imagine the problems this will cause me. You are not worth this amount of trouble. And Tim said you had to leave this suite immediately. Well, screw you too, you jerk. I checked my purse and Brad must have taken my cash and cards, so unless you want to put a nearly naked lady out in your hallway, give me $60 for a cab to get me away from you, you sorry son of a bitch." Arriving home, Brad went immediately to work on Rose's punishment. Grabbing the jumbo yard waste bags from the garage on his way in, he went to Rose's closet and took every dress and outfit that Brad had selected and bought her, and it was easily 75% of her clothes, including all her evening wear and nicer outfits. With a small box, he reappropriated all the jewelry he had given her. He found good enough hiding places out in the garage for his loot, and actually was able to chuckle when he thought he now knew what the Grinch must have felt like on Christmas Eve. The brief moment of levity ended with Rose entering the house and yelling Brad's name. "In here, and stop yelling, now," Brad announced. Rose found Brad sitting at the dining room table, with a scotch in front of him. "What in the hell?" Rose started up again, only to get the hand from Brad, who grinned slightly at seeing Rose in a hotel robe. "Shut up, and sit down, Rose." 1 month later. It was touch and go, but when the details came out on Dwayne's repeated attempts to seduce Rose, he was given a semi-precious separation agreement and shown the door. His departure cleared a path for Brad to stay on board, and part of his separation agreement was Dwayne acquiescing not to press charges for his balls getting crushed. The loving couple's conversation that night was very one-sided, with Brad telling Rose she was happy to stay in a guest room, or leave whenever she felt like it. He was too enraged with her declaration that she would have sex with Dwayne to even attempt to have any conversations with her until he had settled his mind a bit. Discretion being the better part of valor, she too acquiesced and went to the guest room, apologizing profusely as she left, crying. Brad accepted the promotion on an interim basis while the investigation went on, and he opted to travel as much as possible for the next 4 weeks. Fuck her, he thought. This is what she wanted anyway. At their counselor's office. Seated for their second meeting with their marriage counselor, Evelyn Baker, Brad began to answer her follow-up questions that arose from the end of their first meeting. The first meeting had largely been Rose and then Brad explaining their versions of how they ended up here. At the end of that first meeting, Brad said something about wearing different hats at home, at work, out with friends, etc. Right, so to elaborate on the hats comment. At work, I am a business professional, seeking rewards such as title, perks, promotions, etc., and I also want to ensure my company excels and succeeds. That is a hat I wear at work, and that hat brings with it a certain persona that is needed to succeed. I like to think I can leave that hat at work, or at least in my car when I get home. At home with Rose, I put on a different hat, and it brings a different persona with it. With Rose, I don't have to negotiate, barter, or enforce to get done the myriad things that I must do at work. My sole objective with Rose is to make her happy, which in turn pleases me, and no small part of that is doing things for her like picking out special clothes and personal care items, etc. That's totally reasonable, and I bet most couples do something similar, leave work at the office, although I've not met another husband that buys his wife's clothes. Care to elaborate? Sure, the first part is selfish. I pick clothes I know will be classy and somewhat sexy, that bring out Rose's best features. What husband would not want his wife looking her best, and radiating the confidence that goes with that? I'm sure you've heard some variant of, he wants a lady on the street and a vixen under the sheets. And to date, it has worked well, but what I realized that night was that Rose and I never discussed who this effort was for. To me, it's obviously been only for us. We're married to each other, and I thought we each expected fidelity from the other. Sure, I get a kick from Rose being one of, if not, the hottest woman in the room, but whatever looks she gets, and mild flirting she does, she comes with me, she leaves with me, and we share the hot moments together, later. Rose looked up, eyes wet, and asked, so, when I told you I would have sex with Dwayne with or without you? You crushed me. I quickly realized you thought everything I was doing for you could somehow be just for you, when you decided it so? You took yourself and that hot dress and gave them both to Dwayne. The only bright side was I figured if you had the guts to say it like that, then you probably had not already fucked him. Because if you have slept with anyone else since we married, tell me now, and we can part ways. And that's also why I ripped that dress apart and off you. I gave it to you, but it was for us, to enjoy together. And obviously why I also took away all the other gifts I gave you. And you said, first part, is there more you'd like to add? Well, the second part wasn't done, regrettably, and it was obviously the harder part. We didn't communicate enough about our expectations. I don't think fidelity necessarily needs to be confirmed again and again, but perhaps for clarity it does. And I think Rose made assumptions about my buying her clothes and my bending over backward to please her. She only saw one hat that I wore, only with her. Maybe I should have communicated my expectations more often. As Dwayne learned quickly, and Rose more gradually this past month, I can wear different hats, and with the right hat on, I don't have a problem with busting someone's balls if I am not getting what I need in a situation. Rose, any questions for Brad, or anything else you'd like to say? Well, he asked me a question earlier that I want to answer, with clarity. No, I have not slept with anyone else since we became exclusive, and I no longer even daydream about doing so. This past month has been a nightmare. And I have a question, or request really, for Brad. Sweetie, could I please move back into the bedroom with you? End.